Steve, I notice you're in your orange, but it's a t-shirt and not a quarter zip. Is it because it's like 95 degrees outside?
It's because it's like 95 degrees out. I haven't ordered from the Glasgow Rangers yet, and this will disappoint you to know. This is my Ashley McBryde concert shirt.
Of course, it's an Ashley McBride concert shirt.
It's a Colorado State University T-shirt, but it's bright orange, just in case they want to see me in the crowd when I'm cheering at the concert.
Oh my God, there's something wrong with you.
And the sad part about it is that's kind of true. So,
Oh God. Um, this this is the Stuff Summer Says podcast with Steve,
Steve,
and it's already off to an interesting start. I'm I'm glad we're back. Glad we're back from summer vacation, our little hiatus. We'll probably be.
right? You went to a concert recently, right?
I did.
What did you wear?
I wore a Ross Travis basketball jersey, Steve, and I'm proud of it.
There you go. To a Taylor Swift concert, which I thought was wonderful. Nobody noticed,
Uh,
except your social media got you.
it was worth it for the clicks. It was worth it for the
Okay.
clicks. We only saw two Penn Staters on the entire trip. We were gone for 9 days. Saw two Penn Staters, which I feel like is you're in Europe. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Um, saw one at the Guinness Brewery. Didn't really have much of a conversation that I probably remember. And then saw one in London. Hit them with a "We Are" and they did not hear me. I'm hoping that they did not hear
Okay.
me.
Okay.
Um, so you know what though it was worth it for the bit. I think is the best way to say that.
Good job. Good. Okay. Good.
So, what do you want to talk about?
We're talking Penn State. We're talking sports media and Penn State football,
Okay,
right?
all right, that's perfect. Let's start there. Um, yeah, let's start. Let's talk Penn State sports media slash Penn State sports media beat. Um, Kind of a big off season as we were discussing before the show for Penn State sports media beat. A lot of faces that were around for a multitude of years, not going to be around maybe either in a formality or in a sense of maybe not as frequent. And I think we've talked about Dave Jones. Obviously, he's now officially retired. Longtime Patriot News beat writer for Penn State. Neil Rodell is stepping aside as the managing editor of the Mirror, but it sounds like he's still going to do Penn State football stuff at least. And then kind of two big ones that maybe I don't want to say came out of left field, but certainly felt like a big surprise. If you pay attention to who covers Penn State football, which is primarily just me and Steve. That's why we have this podcast, and we're gonna talk about it. So the first one was Ben Jones, StateCollege.com. Essentially tweeted this on July 3rd and said, "Long distance reporting and lots of commuting was never going to last forever, but still bittersweet to learn my time with StateCollege.com has come to a close. Has been a blessing in the past 13 seasons to cover Penn State student athletes. Stay tuned for what's next, but first," and then it was a picture of Ben doing what Ben does best, which is being on the water fishing, because he's found that hobby that he's very passionate about. I think when we had Ben on, we asked him about this because at the time, and he still is, and I believe he maybe even bought a house now out in Minnesota. How much longer was he going to be able to kind of do this? And he wasn't sure, and to me, I'm bummed because I think Ben. The one thing about Ben is he was one of the few people that didn't just cover Penn State football. He covered all of Penn State athletics in a way. I think he, in my mind, is, or at least I think there's a bigger loss for Penn State basketball and more importantly Penn State hockey, um, because Ben is the Penn State hockey beat writer. And no, that's no offense to somebody that I'm currently discussing with who covers Penn State hockey from time to time. But I think that's where, if you really pay attention to Penn State hockey, you're going to feel a void. Um, and so that one, that stings a little bit. And I think the other thing with Ben was like, he was always good about helping the younger generation grow. And he certainly helped me kind of evolve into that. So I don't know. I'm a little bummed there. And then the other one, and I have more deeper thoughts on this one, was kind of came out of left field, but Dejan Kovicic, I hope I said that right, who runs DK Pittsburgh Sports, basically said, we're done covering Penn State sports, and Geiger tweeted something to the effect of, I'm either looking for a new gig or I'm going to retire after essentially 18 years of covering the beat. So I think that one, that one not to Cory's fault, but that one bothered me in a lot of different ways because I read DK Pittsburgh Sports specifically for Geiger, and now I'm never probably going to go to that website because there's a whole host of other Pittsburgh sports websites that I can get my Pittsburgh sports news, and I feel like this is a massive miss and loss, um, particularly for Penn State fans, maybe kind of that skew more towards me and you, the western half of the state that care about at least some of the other Pittsburgh sports teams. Um, Cory said that he is still going to do his daily radio show, which I think does not get enough credit for, again, like a void that it fills in the center region. I think he is the voice of I'm sorry, not Penn State. He is the voice of center region sports, like sports talk radio, and I still think that has an important place in media. Um, so, like I said, it's going to be there's a lot of voices going away on the beat that you may not have always agreed with them. And I know Geiger ruffles a lot of people's feathers, and he knows that. He knows I would say that to his face. But I think I'm bummed about it because I think these are at least two writers right here that I've enjoyed reading, getting to know, and hearing their perspective on Penn State and Penn State football primarily.
Yeah, let me go back to Dave Jones a second. I think he's the, I mean, not, I think he's the reason I would check in on the Patriot News on late Saturday nights or Sundays to see his reaction and three things. And he was doing it for a while and did it well and had enough history and context that it worked. I think with Ben especially, you're losing, Penn State sports fans are losing a knowledgeable voice, someone who'd been doing it for a decade plus on a free site, right? Like he'll get backfilled by some young Penn State alum probably, right? And somebody who can write and will be fine. But I think statecollege.com, especially in a world where you have to pay for everything now as one of the free sites, that was one of the reasons Ben got a lot of traction for stuff. His stuff wasn't behind a paywall. It wasn't, hidden. It was easy to get to. And Cory, as well. I don't know if he'll find a landing spot or where it will be. It's kind of hard for me to imagine him retiring as a sports writer and what the next thing is going to be. So I hope he finds a landing spot because I don't know what exactly it would be. Not that he couldn't. I just try to picture that personality, doing something else.
No, I can't. I can't imagine it.
Right.
I mean, I know he has his professional softball career that he wants to achieve, and I know he is passionate about coaching his son's little league team.
It'll free up time for that, but I don't know. There's not a lot of money in that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of money in those too.
But Ben is, and Cory, I think, let me go back to Cory. Cory was different in that I think he fancied himself tougher than everybody else on the administration, the football program, and whatever else than everybody else. Some ways he was, because he wasn't tied as closely with some of the initial paid sites that kind of need the football program to succeed, for you to get viewers and listeners, and people don't want to feel that you're bought in with, or feel that you're more invested with them than those pay sites are. Not they are, but I just think there's that connection with fans that like they feel you're closer to the program. So I think Cory had the freedom to be a little bit of a voice and doubt some stuff and hey, what about this? And I think that's okay and good for a beat. And Ben, again, because it was free and it was worth paying for, but it was free, people could get his stuff. He developed the following. People knew to follow him on social channels. He had good stuff. He had thoughtful stuff. And all three of those, the Joneses and Cory, were from afar at times, but I don't think being there every day makes you better. Means you're on the beat more consistently. It doesn't necessarily mean you're better at serving readers than someone else. Some of the best writers in the history of sports writing parachute into things all over the place, and as long as they're prepared, write good stories. And I think it's a challenge with access, no matter what, even for the people who are there every day. So it's not a world-ending loss, but those are three voices it'd be nice to have through any football season to at least check out what they're having to say about your team.
I think, and I think the one thing, and I think I told Ben this when he was on the podcast, you wouldn't know he was sitting in Minnesota a lot of days, and he was coming into town for virtually every home game, and was at a lot of away games, the easy ones to get to. But I think, and maybe this is like, maybe not old guy, young guy, but like this kind of is like the remote versus hybrid, or the remote versus in office kind of debate that we're all
Mhm.
collectively having as a society. And I don't know. None of these none of these beat writers. I wouldn't know. I mean, I don't. I wouldn't know that they weren't there every day. Like I feel just as informed. Zoom now exists, and that's the other thing. Like, and that's not a knock to, because I know everybody that covers the team, to a higher level has inside sources and can tap on those. But that's one of the things we talk about all the time on any time a beat writer comes on the podcast is it's this it's everybody's getting fed the same stuff. It's just how are we packaging it differently, a lot of times. And I think that's kind of where it, there, not to be whatever, but there takes an art to crafting that and doing that, and just really crafting in the knowledge that comes with the beat. And we're losing a decent core of that beat, so to speak. And I think the other thing with Ben is, like, Ben is one of the first younger beat writers, like not necessarily like my generation, because he is a little bit older than me, but like relatively my generation that kind of grasps social media, grasps like all these other things that, not to say that others on the beat aren't doing as well, but I think, you know, you've had Neil be on the beat for however many years. It's pretty much the entire time you've covered Penn State football or talked about Penn State football, watched Penn State football. Some of these older guys. So we are going to have to kind of experience and see a younger new wave, and I think maybe Johnny McGonigal probably is going to be, not to put pressure on him, but the flag bearer kind of that. So yeah, I don't know. I think it
Yeah,
sucks.
I think he and I think Johnny, Greg Pickle, whoever ends up at statecollege.com, right, are going to be some of the younger folks that aren't the collegiate kids and the onward state kids, and not that there's anything bad with them, but the regular consistent beat writers, to see what's different. What's different in terms of how you treat stuff, if there is a difference. So I think that'll be fun from our little perch of like how a beat works, to see what they do with that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm excited from that point, but I do think anytime anybody loses a gig, it's not exactly fun.
Yeah. No. So I'll still be following both of them. I'm sure Geiger will still be making all of the Altoona.
Exactly. And I'm sure Ben will find
angry.
something too, where he finds a way to be invested in. I mean, he's still in Big Ten country out there, so I'm sure it wouldn't surprise me if he shows up somewhere else that way. So
he'll at least tweet about the Sixers. That'll get you through. All right. Anything else beat wise that we want to discuss?
Nope. What do you got next?
Okay, I have a couple things next. I feel like Pat Kraft went on a little media tour, media blitz, stump speeches a lot. There was a letter looking back at the 2023 season. There was a couple other things. A BTN interview. I know he sat down with On3. I think he did a couple other. I think Ben and him sat down. I didn't take anything earth-shatteringly away from anything that came out. I think we all kind of knew, if you've been paying attention. I think it's funny to watch him kind of change, as Mark Wogenrich pointed out, went from, we're not going to sell the naming rights to, we're going to sell the naming rights. I thought that was like relatively interesting. The one thing, there was kind of I think this was in the BTN interview, but there was kind of a flag planting a little bit of the wrestling program. And it's very fascinating to watch Pat Kraft really champion the wrestling program. That one's been kind of interesting to me. Like, I feel like he's grasped that in a way that maybe other athletic directors haven't, or at least maybe understands that there's a core to the fandom there of not just wrestling, but that can expand out even if it's a niche sport. Thought that was interesting. Any thoughts there before I move to my next point?
I think the crossover of the fans for wrestling and the fans for the athletic program in general is interesting, right? Like those fans for wrestling are happy to have the AD championing that. And if you're the AD, pick your winning a sport and make sure you're getting behind it, which is what he's doing. But I would venture to guess that if you had to draw like some kind of Venn diagram of like wrestling fans and football fans who are grumpy, like I think there'd be a crossover there. Like I
Oh
think
yeah, it's yeah.
so I think there's that. Like, so you got to make those people happy and make sure you care about them and to also convey to them, hey, we need to support them all, right? So, not that it's a huge group, but I think that crossover of like, well, they don't need my money for football, but I love wrestling. I think that might be as big in that sport among the fans as any other sport. Certainly among any other sport that has a chance to make some money or makes money.
I don't want
So
to.
I think, go ahead.
I don't want to sit here and generalize every Penn State wrestling fan because again I'm talking to one of them right now, or at least a season ticket holder of one. But I do feel like the vocal minority that causes me a lot of headaches at night when I sit down and write about Penn State football is coming from people sitting and paying for season tickets at Rec Hall.
Wrestling. No, I think you're probably right, right? So I think that's a good thing to champion it. And I don't know where it came up, but I know it's came up in print. I've seen a couple times, and I know it's been talked about among my athletic staff. They have a $22 million bill that they want, that they need to pay as a result of the House ruling, and they are committed to doing that. And it's about supporting our students and getting that done. That is the message externally and internally. So again, as much as they're all in on some things, they are all in on being at the highest level of whatever it is, because and I guess that's the settlement. But going forward, you wouldn't have to do that. You wouldn't have to say we're going to pay this much
Right.
to be, So they are clearly all in on all of that. So
Yeah, because
yeah,
he did say he wants to keep all 31 teams. I read an interesting article. I think it was on the Defector about men's gymnastics. How there's only like 14 programs in the country, and how a lot of people fear that they're kind of one of the first to go. So I thought that was interesting and maybe reassuring. It's funny how we went from maybe, and this isn't a Pat Kraft knock, but within the last like 4 years of Penn State needs to add a couple, at least another women's sport to. We're going to do everything we can to retain all 31 sports.
mm,
So I thought that was interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the role of athletic director, I think now more than ever, maybe really in the last 5 years, like maybe it's something, and maybe this is partly because of the scandal we pay attention to it more. But I feel like we collectively are starting to put it under a microscope in the same way we put the head football coach under a microscope. And I think that's a fair thing because you're in charge of something that is very important to us being the fan, or at least me being the fan, of that we care about and want to see succeed. I thought, speaking of Poorman, I thought his article on kind of the Learfield Directors Cup and finishing, in like
mm.
23rd or something like that. For Poorman was a little spicy, but not wrong, and something that was, I think we think about a little bit, or something to think about a little bit when a team has an off year that, maybe shouldn't have had an off year, or you're used to just having the same coaches over and over and over again, because people don't really get fired at Penn State that often. Not
Yeah,
saying anyone should get fired, but
I think both football coach and AD in the past decade plus, right, have been seen as more because they framed it that way. The football coach, especially CEO and your stakeholders you report to, and those stakeholders are the fans if they're smart enough to know that they control the purse strings. And I think Pat Kraft, the job is to fundraise and to create excitement, and energy, and he hasn't done anything off that would hinder that script of God, Pat cares about us. Look at him fighting for us, right? Look at him. We don't want football to open the road. We don't want to do this. He's picked all those battles, and people love that he's fighting them, and he's also raising money. So I
no, I
think
don't
he's
know if
doing
I
what he
love
wants to
all
do.
of them.
Well, no, I'm not a big fan. Like there's some of the fights that I think you just do to make noise, right? Like it feels like it's just saber rattling just to say, don't overlook us. But in an 18 team conference, I don't know, maybe you need to be the squeaky wheel to make sure you don't get overlooked.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I just when my ticket donation goes up again, let me know. That's all I gotta say.
Well, hey, I am a wrestling season ticket holder. At least I will be when they get my voice invoice and renew them. But I'm the hockey deadline's coming up. I'm not 100% sure that's going to happen. because we've now added the donation for the seats, right?
Mm,
And it's now, again, it's been 13 years, but in my lifetime as a season ticket holder, those tickets were like $300. Now we're looking at like almost like 9 with the donation.
and that's a lot. The other thing with hockey is like that's a lot of commitment. That's your Friday and
Right,
Saturday
right,
night, and like
right. Like
I
I
know
think we
for a
can
fact you're
find
getting rid of those tickets half the time.
right, and we can find like, so the biggest loser will be the in-laws, right? Like realistically, for us, if we find 6 or 8 games we're going to go to in person and we have to pay face value or God forbid more or a little bit less depending on where we find them, okay, so what, right? And we
Right.
have enough people that we could probably say, hey, do you have tickets?
Yeah.
So no, the in-laws will lose out if we and a couple charities
Okay.
that I donated tickets to will lose out, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. All right. We're done with the punching
Yes,
bag
we're going to
on
what,
Pat Kraft.
facilities now
Oh,
or
yeah,
something?
we're gonna hit on the facilities. Um, so a part of this letter from Pat Kraft, um, were the announcement of 3 long-awaited, well, really only one of the 3 is long-awaited in my opinion, facility upgrades. So the first one is they're gonna renovate, update the Greenberg, which is the old ice arena. Um, I guess they're gonna just kind of put more locker rooms and stuff in, and like more common spaces. It seems like, great, cool. Doesn't really mean anything for me as a fan. I did think it was interesting though. One thing I did want to call out: there are pink and black lights in there. I'm telling you, just
Well, and the last time they redid Greenberg a decade ago, it was for academic. It was like the academic success area, and they were doing all their stuff there. That's where they would unveil the numbers of the GPAs, and
well, this seems
you
like
know,
they're gutting the East locker room area and
right?
kind of sprucing up and maybe attaching those
Yeah.
buildings. It is. I haven't read the full OPP thing on that. There is the East locker room, as well mentioned in here, but the big one that I think most people care about or should care about. Jeffrey Field is finally getting a functioning facility, and it's about damn time. It looks like there's going to be effectively like offices there. There's going to be a full weight room, a full like kind of training, film study room, and then kind of a bigger facade to the building, which I have long harped on this. There's absolutely no reason that this shouldn't have been done 10 years ago, 15 years ago. 2 programs, primarily with the women's program, that consistently are one of the best in the country and have poverty like establishments for a lack of care by the athletic administration. So I'm very happy about this one.
Yeah, I think they put last time I knew, and this last time I did something about it was wrote a story. It was like when I was working for athletics part time for the newsletter, they were putting free weights that were left over from the football team under like the west side of Jeffrey Field, so they could work out there instead of having doing that. I'm sure those are low and gone. So yeah, I'm sure it's a. I mean, I know it's the race, the facilities race, like with every other program, and it it deserves the investment, right, on the side of this is what you do for your quality sports. It'll be fun to talk about, and hopefully we're going to have a coach talk about it in a couple of weeks about what that means for your program, what that
Right.
how that what that transfers into, and if it does, right? Because a layperson might look at it and say, well, they've had success, they played meaningful games. They, what does this mean? Does it need to mean anything, or do they need to make sure that they don't fall further behind? Like I think that'll be fun to talk through. But yeah, I think in terms of how you fit it and programs that were successful and want attention, they probably are
One
due
of
or
yeah.
overdue. You know,
And then there was a picture of the bubble that they're going to build,
that
which
everybody's going to use except for football. Finally,
yeah,
football's getting people out of its building, so they have someplace else for people to practice. Basically,
and it looks like a giant bubble. So
there you go.
that's
Well,
it.
if it's not broke, right? If the bubbles work all over the country and world, why not, right?
I watched a fascinating, like, you ever watch How It's Made? They do an episode where they explain how they make these bubbles, and it's like it's quite literally what they think. Like, it's a piece of sheet, and then they just tape it to the next one, and then put air in it, and up it
There
goes.
you go. Well,
Yeah.
and on the outside, there'll be able to be ads.
Oh my God, there it is. There it is.
Well, why wouldn't there be? Why wouldn't they? Again,
Oh, because
wouldn't it be?
it's a campus building, and where else? What other campus building are there out ads on the outside of?
It's an athletic building, though. I don't know. Isn't it dereliction of duties if they don't get
No,
five hundred thousand dollars a year for it?
it's gonna be called the what's our what's our couple in New York?
Oh, I forget.
Oh God, what are their names? I forget what their names are.
If they put it in their will, it should be for them. But
I
I'm
was gonna
telling you,
say
it's
that's
worth
it's
money.
gonna be named after some old fart that we've never heard of, and it's gonna be called the God. What did we
The
name
old
it?
fart inflatable.
The
Nice.
old fart inflatable. Yes.
Nice.
God, this podcast is
Nice. It's going to need air
already off the
fresheners.
rails. Okay. I think we hit on everything there. There was
We
one more
skipped
thing.
over your trip. We just hinted on your trip. So we were going to
Um.
talk about that.
Oh, we were gonna talk about my trip. We're gonna. What are we gonna talk about?
So it was good. Like we talked,
I,
we hinted about the concert and wearing a Ross Travis shirt
y-
to a Taylor Swift concert, right? Because you had to go across the globe to be able to see Taylor Swift,
yeah.
which you were not alone in doing. You go
Um.
to Dublin, Edinburgh, and London, and
Yes.
Scotland too.
Well, it's the Edinburgh's in Scotland.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
Didn't.
it's bigger.
Okay. So let me just say this: the trope about. Have you ever seen the GIF of like security officers outside the European soccer stadiums that just like kind of does the half pat down thing,
Mhm.
and like it's like the flimsiest security you've ever seen. 100% true. The guy when we walked into the stadium, it's like Ireland's main, like their it's where their soccer team plays, and then their rugby team plays. Like it's their host stadium as well. When we walk in there, the guy just like lightly pats me down, barely even touches me, and then like takes a quick look at my fanny pack and didn't even look at it. He was probably looking at something else and said, "You're good." So that was interesting.
What was in your fanny pack?
Just a phone charger.
Okay.
Phone charger. Um, and the other thing that was interesting was the food. We bought 4 meals, 4 chicken tender and fry meals and drinks for less than, I think it was like 35 euros or 35 pounds. Yeah, euros. They're on the euro. So that was that was $40 US, which to me was like kind of surprising slash very
Yeah, because it would have been
impressive.
$60 over here.
Right. So that was interesting to see. The other thing that was very interesting was of course they serve Guinness there, and like it's like you still get it in a branded cup. It's just plastic, and like they actually properly serve the Guinness there. They don't just like slap it on in there and say here you go. It was like
Okay.
they let it settle and bring it out. I was pretty impressed by that. I also have become a big fan of the fact that the stadium had an overhang. And like it didn't rain during the concert, but if it would have rained, we would have been dry. So that would be, maybe we're adding that to my wish list of future Beaver Stadium renovations, is like not a dome, but at least a little bit
Well,
of
you're
a
going to have to
roof.
move your seats, the other end zone, and just get up underneath.
That's true. That's true. Good. Well, there's a lot of leakage there, though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
Um.
are you a good traveler? Like you've talked all stadium stuff and Taylor Swift stuff. Are you good travelers?
And what's that? What do you mean? Like,
I don't know. Like, are you low maintenance, good travelers?
oh, I'm
Or
very
are
low
you
maintenance. Yeah, I'm very low
okay?
maintenance.
We'll stop there. Never mind. I'm not getting in trouble.
I'm just along for the ride. I was just happy to be there, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good
Um.
enough.
Got to watch the Euros in a pub. That was fun.
Okay.
Got to watch people react to Cristiano Ronaldo and how much they hate him over there. That was fun. Um, I don't know. It was cool. Yeah.
Treated well. Everybody liked the American
Yeah.
tourist
Everybody was
people in
was
Dublin and
good.
London.
Like, I I found particularly, that's the second time in like the UK, and I found like there more than anywhere else. Like they're almost happier there. Like they're like kind of excited to see you. Like I feel like in Greece they were the same way. Um, I don't. France, a little depends on who you were talking to, but like they
Okay.
want you to be there almost. Like they know that you're providing money to them.
Okay.
Um,
Good.
so yeah, it was a good trip.
Good.
Good trip.
Nice. Glad you're back safe and happy.
So all right,
Making memories.
this week's old guy, young guy. Go ahead.
Brought to you by me. We'll talk about manners briefly. Are you a door opener?
I try.
Random people you don't know, are you a door opener?
I try. I always try to make an effort to look behind me when I open a door to see if somebody's behind me, and if somebody's behind me, yes, I will hold the door open for them.
Okay.
There is nothing worse than people that do not even bother to hold the door open, and That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is just take a second, just look behind you. All that's all you gotta do is go
I
like
did
that,
not know it was one of you. This is great. I'm so
and
glad.
and you just open it like it's. it takes 2 seconds. Like it's you're not in that much of a rush. Particularly when you're like at a food place. Like if you're at like Chipotle, like I feel like it always happens to me at Chipotle. Just hold the door open. It's not hard. It takes 2 seconds.
Do you say thank you then?
Yeah,
If they do hold it?
usually.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Some type
Just to
of
know.
acknowledgement. I do struggle. I do. I'm not always the best at saying bless you after somebody sneezes.
That's fair. That's probably true. Well, yeah, it depends on where you're at. Like yeah. Trying to think. I'm a door holder, I guess. I'm a please and thank you person. Um, and I'm past the age was. I may say yes sir to people who are like much younger than me, or yes ma'am, like to somebody just as if they're my age or older, probably not younger than me for a woman, but like I'll do that. Like yep, yes sir, yep, thank you, yep. But not and
Mm.
now that I say that, maybe for guys at any age, I would say yes sir. Like even if it
You
was like
say
a
yes sir to me sometimes though.
that's what I'm saying, right? So I would do it at any age for guys. For women, I probably would not do it. Yes, ma'am, younger than me. And a guy can't carry off like where did I go? I got something. Oh, the Legion, right? Where I'll go to pick up wings. Ladies, here you go, honey. Have a good night,
Yeah, a
sweetie.
guy
Like a
can't do
woman can do
that.
that. A guy
Yeah, a
can't
guy
do that.
cannot
Like
do that.
no, no,
No.
no, no.
Uh-uh. I'm trying to think. Well, were you raised in a military household?
No,
No. It
no.
might just be your generation thing. That one is not. I've never really been a yes sir. Yes. Oh, here's one. Uh, what did you tell your children to call
Oh
if they
yeah.
were going over to like so and so's house, like Johnny's house? What would they call
If they were
Johnny's?
going to Mr. and Mrs. Tillison's house, it was Mr. and Mrs. Tillison, right?
Okay.
Like even now, I don't know what Danny calls her friends' parents. I know the Batista kids, like Joe Batista's
Mm-hmm.
kids, who we're close with, in all of them. So from one a year older than Danny, one Sam's age, one like 3 years younger. Sorry, Ryan, if you're listening, I'm sure you're not. Like they're all Mr. and Mrs. Samsel, even now,
Really? Even
which
now?
which I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like I
Yeah.
like not that I don't, but like they're like we were with their parents a few weeks ago and they were on like a FaceTime chat and they're like, oh, the Samsels are here. And like, hi, Mrs. Samsel, hi, Mr. Samsel, how are you? I'm like, I like that about them. Like
That's
not that
nice.
I need it, but I do like that.
That's nice.
I don't think Miss Joni, Miss Susie at daycare, right? Like that's I don't know. And I think that's a generational thing. The first name became the last name
Oh,
in those
yeah.
conversations.
Well, so like I feel like that was like it was always Mr. Samsel until you were cleared by Mr. Samsel to say Steve,
Right.
if that makes sense. So then it was
Yep,
then
yep,
it's just Steve.
yep, yep. No, I agree. I
Um,
agree. Wait, no, so what do you call your friends' parents? Like who are your closest
it's
friends
it
from?
like for like my closest friends like now we're on like a first name basis, right? Uh, but like it was always like initially it's always like Mrs. Holmes, Mrs. So and so, Mrs.
Mhm.
And then it was like their first name is fine. Like once they're like, but they have to clear it. They have to be like, oh, just
Yep.
call me Jane.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of that way with like Russ and Terry's parents. Russ's mom was the mayor of the little city he grew up in, right? So we always have the outlet there, and she's likes being acknowledged as the mayor. So it's like, how you doing, mayor? Like,
That's
so
nice.
she likes that, and that's kind of good. It saves me from feeling like I have to call the 80-year-old woman by her first name because I'm
Yeah,
still not, even if it's cleared, there's still enough of an age difference there that I want to be respectful of that.
yeah,
So
yeah. All right, that's
cool.
good.
Look at us.
Look at this.
Very nice manners.
Um, I might write this week. We'll see. Um, but it is getting closer to football season, so we will. I need to double check my dates, but I think next week. I think next week we will send out our media survey,
Mhm.
which I'm very excited about. Um, and then we're kind of off and running because then it's Big Ten Media Days, and then it's basically August. And once August starts, we'll have a new batch of stuff. I'll do the same 3 or 4 previews that I did. I'm sure Steve will have some stuff along the way too. Um, and then it'll be August 31st, and then September 1st we'll have a game recap, and then it's just the cycle starts. And so what I'm saying is July is going to be a little bit of a slow month for another week or so, but then it's going to pick up, and then you're going to be annoyed of us. But if you aren't annoyed of us, we're almost at 100 subscribers on YouTube, so you could subscribe to us on YouTube. 5 stars, thumbs up. Um,
And we got good guests coming in the next few weeks.
we
We
do
should
have a
have
couple
us.
good guests
We have
coming.
a commitment from a soccer coach that I'm hoping we'll make happen. We have a cool WNBA guest that we
Oh
have
yes,
a verbal agreement
yes,
to make happen with. So
yes.
I think,
He
yeah,
owes us. Yes, he owes us.
yes.
Yes. Um, well,
And we'll
there
find
were a
those new
couple
football
others.
beat reporters.
And we've got new people. Yeah, tons of new beat reporters. There is there was something in the Penn Stater as well this week that reminded me of something that I very small part of, that we have to discuss. Other than that, 5 stars, thumbs up, subscribe. Website is stuffsummersays.com. On that website, there's a section called
Steve,
with Steve. He's got an email. Well, I have one too. It's Darian at stuffsummersays.com. Steve's is
Steve at stuffsummersays.com.
um, Twitter handles. Mine's at stuffsummersays. Steve's is
At Steve Sampson.
yeah. See ya. Bye.